Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Chiefs Podcast Network. I'm Jaden Varner. It's going to be just me by myself again today. We're going to do a game preview of the Raiders and Chiefs coming up on Monday night, taking a look at what the Raiders did last week on Sunday. They beat the Denver Broncos 32-23 to get their first win of the season, primarily carried by Josh Jacobs in their running game. He had 144 yards on the ground on 28 attempts with 2 touchdowns. Derek Carr through the air didn't do it too much, but had 188 yards on the ground in the air with 21 completed passes. His main receiver, of course, Davante Adams. Falling behind him was Mac Hollins with only 33 yards. So primarily, they're going to try to run this offense through Josh Jacobs and Davante Adams, which we've pretty much seen how that's gone for them so far this season. They're only 1-3. So hopefully the Chiefs have a pretty good chance. Again, the Chiefs have the number 5 ranked rush defense, and last week they held the Buccaneers to only 3 yards rushing on a combined 6 attempts, which isn't a whole lot, but the defense did just enough to, put the pressure on them early, and the Chiefs offense did what they needed to. So the rushing totals weren't a whole lot because, the pressure was just so immense on the Buccaneers offense. And totals for the offense for the Chiefs: Patrick Mahomes, 249 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, a late interception, which was kind of an unnecessary throw that he had, but it was within like 7 minutes left of the game. So pretty unnecessary, but it happened. Clyde on the ground, 92 yards. He had 100 yards, but a penalty took back, I believe, a 6, 7, 8 yard gain. So he sticks with 92 yards on 19 attempts. Pacheco behind him with 11 attempts with 63 yards. He looked pretty good in the limited amount of snaps that he got. He got more than he had been getting, but they gave him quite a few more rushes and meaningful play time, and he got 63 yards. Mahomes was behind them with 34 yards on the ground tallied up. Of course, Travis Kelce, the leading receiver, with 92 yards and a touchdown on that opening drive, which really set the tone for the rest of the game. The fumble on special teams for the Buccaneers that Kansas City got right there inside the 20, and that pretty much was the whole tone of the game. Kansas City just didn't let up. It was 21-3 at one point, and most of the points and most of the yards that the Buccaneers got kind of later in the game, pretty much garbage time. Sky Moore saw a little bit more use. He got 2 catches for a total of 31 yards. That puts him up on the season total of 61 yards receiving. Seeing more snaps for him. Hopefully that this week against the Raiders, he'll maybe see a little bit more use. Valdez-Scantling was second in receiving with 63 yards, and then Smith-Schuster with 46. Fortson had the second touchdown of Mahomes, with Edwards-Helaire with the third receiving touchdown from Mahomes. The offense looked really good, and then the defense was able to put enough pressure on Tom Brady and that Buccaneers offense to cause a fumble. Snead came off of a corner blitz and looked fantastic. He is probably one of the best blitzing corners that I've ever seen in my lifetime. And, we're going to see a lot of him, hopefully, and he'll be a key to this offense of stop and scheme getting Broncos. I about to say Broncos, but Raiders offense, try to keep them low. Derek Carr, deal with pressure, isn't too good. They're going to try to get to him as much as they can. And George Karlaftis is still looking for his first sack on the season. He is getting up there with pressures. I mean, that dude looks fantastic, but so far no sacks for him on the season. Not saying that he's underwhelming yet, but I mean, that dude has a high motor, and the sacks will start coming in bunches and bunches. So that'll be something to look forward to as the Raiders offensive line pretty heavily beat up. They got some inexperienced guys, not too very good people, but they, I believe, only allowed, I think, 1 sack last week. I can't remember the numbers entirely, but they held up pretty good last week against the Broncos defense, in which they scored 32 points on. So they're going to try to run this offense through Josh Jacobs. So you have to look for the run defense of Kansas City. Is number 5 ranked right now? Is that something that we can attain? Is that something we can keep looking forward to as, a good part of this defense? Now, your main target for him in passing is going to be Davante Adams. Now, that's kind of been a weak part of this Chiefs defense, is that, the corners, Rashad Fenton, getting beat up pretty good. You got a rookie 7th-round corner out there in Jalen Watson, who, to his credit, has been flying around and making a great deal of plays, but he got beat up pretty well by Mike Evans, which, Mike Evans is a star receiver, so that's not an easy thing to do for a 7th-round rookie to come in there and shut him down. But, he did fairly well in coverage for the most part. and that'll be something to look forward to. Maybe do they have him on Devontae Adams at some times, but I would look mostly to have L'Jarius Sneed covering him and to see Rashad Fenton and Watson kind of covering maybe Waller or a combination of Renfrow if Renfrow is indeed back for the Raiders. He's been dealing with some injuries, and some of the play time he's got hasn't looked too fantastic in general. I know he didn't play last week, and then against the Cardinals, he had 2 fumbles and then lost the one, eventually lost them that game. So they haven't had him, and maybe they'll have him for this game. There's nothing I've seen completely yet for that. So that'll be something to look forward to as we get closer to game time. As for the Chiefs, they're on a roll. They beat the Buccaneers, so they've got some wind in their sails, and they're obviously not going to overlook the Raiders. I know the Raiders are 1-3, but this is a big rivalry. It is Raiders Week for a reason, and they make a big deal about it. So it'll be something to see. I think it'll somehow be pretty close. I'm thinking 27-24. I think Matthew Wright's going to have to be a big part of this game. Unfortunately, we saw that Matt Amendola wasn't too good for us. Kind of was a lot of miscues in that Colts game led to our first and only loss of the season thus far. Going into Monday night, I think we get the win. Like I said, 27-24 is what I have. If you guys have anything different or something that your keys to the game, leave those in the comments along with your predictions. Then we'll have a post game after that, see what went wrong, went right, and we'll be right back here. So long. I'm Jaden Varner saying so long here on the Chiefs Podcast Network, and I will